thinking independently. Okay. What's the importance of thinking independently?
I mean, we could probably do a podcast just around thinking independently and speak
Yes.
about it for an hour. And I mean, I see multiple levels of this. I see the level on an individual level. I see
Okay.
it as I also see it from a societal perspective. But ultimately, if I would talk to somebody about it, the first thing is that you cannot necessarily, like, same actions usually will yield similar results.
Yes.
And I think thinking independently is even more important in if you would use the individual perspective, if you are not coming from a privileged background, or if you are at the bottom of the pile. And then on a society level, if you are not developed, it becomes even more important because you have more problems to solve. And if you do not create your own solutions, you keep staying behind.
Yeah.
But then as well, today, in this day and age, we live, they say we live in the information age. And it's how do you process the information you get? I would say it's close to impossible if you do not have, if you're not able to think independently and have at least a set of things that you have reasoned up from the ground up.
Yeah.
And once you have reasoned up from ground up, even if it's just, as I said, a small set, that at least gives you like a guiding principle to go through things and look at it. And when you talk about solving problems, I mentioned before, solving problems for me is all about the insights you obtain. And one example of that is, why do large, well-resourced companies lose out, let's say, in a new technology battle against a company that starts from that one visionary?
Yeah.
That struggles to employ one single software engineer versus the other company is having 10,000s of software engineers. It's because at some level of complexity, people do not see the 0 to 1. And the 0 to 1, in another word, that is where you can think, that's where you are able to start to think independently. And it goes on and on and on. It's like, yeah, we have technology, we have calculators, we have Excel, we have big data. Ultimately, you still need to understand that 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah.
And then you can move on. And I think a lot of people seem to forget that because probably of the complexity of things, the flow of information. But I also see, especially for Africa, when I compare it to Europe, I see some level of opportunity there. Because what I saw when I came here, what I saw is that, yeah, we call it utility. Of course, water is utility. Electricity is not utility. But even that one, human beings tend to forget that, no, there was a time you should have fetched that water. I mean, it's like Netflix is now utility. You can watch movie on demand. 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And it distorts the thinking of not everyone, but of the masses, because you see the top level, you cannot see the bottom.
Yeah.
And you can't reason again, and you cannot solve problems. And that's one thing that I've seen here, because it's like a lot of people they have fetched water, they have gotten wood, they see things still from the ground up. So when they get an exposure, it usually all of a sudden they can do a lot. But that is how I'm thinking about thinking independently, is just a way to navigate the world without being just being a follower that is just reliant on what comes his way. It's like, to steer the ship, you need to think independently.
Well, I agree with you. It's very, very important, especially for people who lead.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in the era of social media, it has become more difficult for us to have leaders who think independently, because many of the young leaders grew up and flourish in the era of social media.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, social media information is not thought about independently. Okay, people get the information. What goes viral is what they gravitate towards, and somehow they get into this mindset, and then they run with it. Unfortunately, for me, I think it become apparent to us maybe in another 10 years that we have a lot of leaders who have been running on the wrong information because they never thought about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if we build our countries, our society based on wrong or on unverified information, it will be a bad thing for us. See, I said this. I posted it on my Facebook page today that develop physical and economic development. They hinge on philosophical foundation. Okay, and the question is for me is this: what are the philosophical foundations that we in Africa are building our society on?
That's a huge question.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's probably one of the problems we have is like there is a severe disconnect.
Yeah.
Between our roots, our actual culture, how we live, and then where we are going in some of the things.
Good.
And I mean, and sometimes that can be a dicey topic when you go into religion, for instance.
Yeah.
But what I see, for instance, is that let's use Christianity as an example. But when you look into, let's say, the European context, let's say, because I grew up in Europe, so maybe that's the one I can easily speak about. But you can see that probably to some extent you could make the case, of course, that the importance of religion has been reducing.
Yeah.
On the other side, people might no longer read the Bible, but their foremost thinkers were readers of the Bible. So when you read the books, when you see the foundation, when you see what the society was built upon, it is the ultimate driver of that society, of the prosperity.
That's it.
And their problem will come when they deviate too far from it.
From it, exactly.
Exactly.
I'm happy you get this.
Yeah, but there was that foundation. And sometimes, as I'm saying, when you talk about religion, you don't even need to argue who believes in what. Ultimately, these things are tested over time. There is a reason why the society that had that book as its fundamental book did well.
Yeah.
So that is all right, but you cannot take something like, you cannot just take a book and not live the principles or have it embedded and think that it can yield the same result.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. There with these, like the philosophical foundations of the society. And again, it's not about the right or the wrong. It's about alignment, that it has to.
Very good.
It has to match.
Very good.
Yeah.
See, this is, I'm smiling because, see, these are the things I when I talk to my friends privately, these are the things we talk about. See, unfortunately, we cannot build a sustainable Africa without our countries, our society, if we don't agree on some fundamental principles. Okay, we cannot. See, yeah. And I will tell you, the old let me use the word the big boys, Europe, America, China, India, even Japan, have their societies have in the West is Christianity. Okay, yeah, the West is the Christianity. In China, they have their own traditional whatever. Okay, that's what is driving the country right now. Okay, India, they had many centuries, millennia of working on a fundamental foundation. Okay, yeah. Maybe based on Hinduism. Okay, I don't know exactly, but they do have foundation. Okay, now unfortunately, Africa is very diverse. See, this is what I tell people, and they don't seem to want to acknowledge how that affects what we do and where we'll go. Okay, we're diverse. We have, see, some people think that we all have the same traditions. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Okay, no, we don't. We have thousands of different traditions.
Yeah.
So if we want to be called Africa, okay, a unified group, we need to sit down, talk about our different traditions, cultures, and maybe agree, okay, we have all this, let's keep it in our little enclaves, but as a group, we need to adopt this.
Yeah.
Okay. We have this in our small villages. Okay. Yes, we keep it, but as a group, this is what we go by. Until we do that, we will struggle. Anyway, you know, I think about this all the time.